Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I always forget this is worldwide, so I'm not sure where people are. And I know Keith Good's over in Colorado, so it's morning for him. It's afternoon for us in New York. We're excited you're back and excited about your own venture as a Reiki practitioner, energy healer at Good's Holistic Healing. It's exciting to have him back. This man is amazing, doing so much as a Reiki master, spiritual mentor to help so many people with meditation and crystals and so much more. But without further ado, let me welcome you back. And I know you've been on a little journey from Montana and you're in Colorado now. So how is that all going?
So, hello everybody. Thanks for having me on here again today. Um, yeah, I've been on a journey that's been guided um, by whomever, by some spirit, and
Mm-hmm.
decided to settle in a town called Walsenburg, Colorado. And the exciting news is we've only been down here 2 weeks, and I've already found property that it will allow me to put a spiritual center on it as well as a house. So it's going to be pretty exciting. We've already named the spiritual center, or the I don't know what you want to call it. It's a ministry. It's
Okay.
called Heart-Centered Ministries. Now, we just came up with that name, so we don't have any websites out yet. We aren't even registered with the state yet. This has just happened in the last few days. But just keep track of everything and follow Good Holistic Healing. There'll be a link in there eventually to get you to the website for the ministry. And the ministry is called Ministries with the plural, simply because um, as it was told to me a long time ago, there are as many religions as there are people in the world. So because I don't deal with any specific religion and consider myself a chaplain more than a minister, um, we were ministering to many different people in many different ways. Therefore, it's a plural of ministries. And so with that said, we are going to be, hopefully within the next few months, we'll be starting this, and it'll be a nonprofit organization just like any other
Wow.
religious organization. And
Beautiful.
there'll be ways of donating, or we might be having online discussions, that kind of stuff. We haven't gotten anything written down in stone yet. We just wanted to make sure that the land we bought, which is quite large, it's 40 acres, was going to allow us to both have my dwelling on it and the spiritual center, which will be a physical center for people to come and visit and do whatever, meditations, mentoring, whatever. But those will be done through the ministries instead of through Good Holistic Healing. Um, Good Holistic Healing is a for-profit, so we won't be mixing the two. We'll be keeping them separate. And so, yeah, I'm excited about it. I think the people that are involved with me are pretty excited about it, and we're going to go from there.
Amazing.
So, and
Congrats.
before
And
I,
go ahead.
thank you. I just gonna say, before I forget, I wanted to make sure, it's only a week away from Christmas. I wanted to make sure I wished everybody a Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas. I know. Wow. Amazing time in your life right now and still continuing on this journey. Beautiful with what you're going to do and what you continue to do. You're still helping people all over. Tell me about, oh, by the way, how we can reach you. It's goodsholisticservices.com, correct? Holistic
Good
Healing.
holistic
Sorry,
heal.
sorry. Goods, thank you. Goodsholistic.healing.com. Yeah,
Yes.
this is exciting. This is awesome stuff.
Yes, goodsHolisticHealing.com. Also info@goodsHolisticHealing.com for email. And of course, you can still call me at the old number of 406-272-6006. So those will all be still available. We will not change the number, even though we've moved to Colorado. We might add a local number, but we won't, at this point, we won't be deleting the old number. We'll still be using the area code for Montana.
Awesome. Congrats. Well, what did you want to discuss for today further now, about the work you're doing? And these times are in the holidays that could be very beneficial.
Well, they can be, and I think it's a time of reflection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a time of reflection in many ways, but mostly, where are you going in this life? What are you wanting to do with your life? Um, in a holistic manner, not just in the third dimension, not just in what am I doing for work, what am I doing for vacation next year, what am I doing? No, let's look at the whole thing. What am I doing for my body? What am I doing for my spirit? And what am I doing for my mind?
Mm.
And this is a time of reflection for all that because I was watching some shows here recently, and one of the guys that I was watching actually just last night, and he said, we're pretty lazy as a human race. We want everybody to give us everything. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to do the work ourselves. And then I've seen this. I've seen people come to me for mentoring, and I see them saying, I want what you have,
Yeah.
but they're not willing to do the work to get anywhere. They want everybody to tell them how to do it, and they want to use their brain instead of their heart. Hence,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we come up with the heart-centered ministries because we want to deal with the heart. We got to move things from both the head to the heart, and we have to move things from our gut to our heart. So we're not working with we stop working with both our brain and our emotions
Okay.
and bring it to the heart because heart is love. And all the universe, that's all it's about. All the universe is about love.
Mm-hmm.
That's love is synonymous
All you
with
need
source or
is
higher power
love.
or God,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, and not the third dimensional love that we talk about,
Yeah.
um, but the love of the divine, the love of the sacred. And that's really what we want to, and that's where we want to go, and that's where we want to focus our contemplation, our meditation, our direction, our studies. We want to all do this in a holistic manner. So we are not just dealing with the physical person. We're not just dealing with, as I said before, what am I doing at work? What's my new job interview going to happen? I mean, that's all part of it, but that's not the only part of it. And that's where most people stop today. They don't go into and saying, what does my spirit want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what we want to do. We want to find out what spirit wants us to do because the wealthiest person in the world is wealth through spirit, not wealth through money.
Got it.
Not to say not to say that money isn't needed, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not what creates a rich person.
Mm.
What creates a rich person is somebody who is in touch with their higher power, somebody who is part of the universe,
Mm-hmm.
realizing that everything they do affects nature and nature affects them and they affect the entire universe and the universe affects them. The universe is inside of us.
Yeah.
It's as above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that is outside of us is also inside of us.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was said to me a while back, and I really hadn't really thought of this in this way, but we should be as amazed at our own soul as we are at the stars above us,
Yeah.
because our own soul is divine
Mm-hmm.
and it is part of the divine. Therefore, if we follow what the guidance of our spirit and soul tells us, which can be getting guidance from other spirit, even though we're all one, we have different facets, different aspects that guide us. And if we can slow down enough to listen to that,
Mm-hmm.
we could have one of the richest lives we could ever imagine, and it would be the most successful and the most satisfying life you've ever thought about having.
Ah, my goodness.
And I think that that's a good Christmas message. I think that that's a message for saying, the Christian faith is now honoring the birth of their divine, their deity, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that deity want you to do?
Mm.
Think about what your deity, whatever religion you are. It's a time not only because the solstice is coming up in 2 or 3 days, which is the beginning of the next set of it's the beginning of the winter, but it's also the time for reflection and they call it the time for sleeping in nature, but it's also the time for deep reflection.
Mm.
We're also coming up in the Gregorian calendar. We're coming up on the new year. Why the new
Mhm.
year doesn't go to a solstice or an equinox is beyond me. But we all make these resolutions for New Year's. We all do these things for New Year's, and you know what? Maybe this is a time to look at it in a holistic manner and say, what am I going to do for the whole of me,
Yeah.
not just for
Uh-huh.
losing weight or not just for doing this or not just for doing that, but what am I going to do for the whole of me now?
You're right.
Because things are changing. Things are really changing in this world, and it's changing on a worldwide manner, and everything we do affects the universe,
Mm.
and everything the universe does affects us.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a great time for reflection over this holiday season,
It
a
is.
great time for putting out other things.
Mm.
Go ahead, Joe.
It is. I feel like the new year is, it always gives us, rejoice and to start fresh, to start new, gives us so much hope. And also, I just want to bring up, this is the holiday season and it's as great as it is. And I'm in that holiday season. I have little kids and we're excited. There's also so many that are suffering that could use our help, who don't have the love and support of a family or even a meal on the table. And it's just my wish for everyone is to give back, to hold that door for someone next time you go to the supermarket. Smile. Last night I went to the mall and I had a gentleman approach me from behind. I was trying to put a backpack on and I'm not familiar. I never wear backpacks and I brought this little bag and he came over and he helped me as he saw me struggling. He came over, like, just help your neighbor, help a friend. And those little things and, gifts of gratitude is just so important right now. Go really a long way. And yeah, and I know these times are also very hard for people financially, those without family. And they could really use a boost, really can use help from anyone out there who's listening. Of course, you especially. But right, it starts from within and just being kind to people around you. And I just hope that's a great lesson. People are listening and to value that. A little bit of kindness goes such a long way.
I agree with you, and I think one of our biggest challenges with that is that we stop it after the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we continue this on a year-round basis?
Beautifully said. Yep.
We're still the same people in July that we
Mm-hmm.
are in December and January when we have this thinking of giving. We're very giving through the holidays, but we need to be just as giving year round. And
Yeah.
that's not always just, as you said, Joe, that's not just always giving out money to people. It's about giving a person a smile.
Yeah.
It's about holding the door open. It's about picking up the trash that you see because somebody dropped it by mistake.
Yeah. Ah.
You know, it's about honoring not just the other people in this world, but honoring the Earth Mother,
Mm-hmm.
honoring the animals, honoring everything there is in this, and that we can see, and thanking those that we can't see for their help.
Yeah. Ah.
Because you mentioned something, Jill, and it came to my mind that you said some people are don't have any love in this season. Some people are alone.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing we can do for them, one of the best things we can do for them is to remind them that they're never alone.
Ah, so
They
true.
always have spirit with them.
Mm-hmm.
They have a guardian angel, they have other spirit guides, however their beliefs go. They have people there. It's like we
Mm-hmm.
mentioned one other episode where we said the truth is there whether you believe it or not. So you don't have to believe in your guardian angel to have that guardian angel with you.
Yeah.
And we're never alone. We just feel alone because we've been geared to feel separate from the rest of society, from the other person beside us, from this and that. But we're never alone. Spirit is always with us, whether it's the higher power or the angel guides or whomever. And that's one of the biggest things we can remind people who feel so alone is you're not alone. Even when I leave you and walk away from you, you're still not alone. You still have spirit with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to say. And the real thing is not just saying things, but showing by action.
Yeah. Ah,
You know,
actions speak
you,
louder
you,
than words, Keith. It's so true.
that's true. And smiling at that person and being kind to that person
Hmm.
is more important than saying here's a 50 cents or $2 bill. You know, that's important. But what's more important is the compassion and love you can give to that person just by showing it outwardly. And that's what we mean by working from the heart, is to be showing those outward signs, because our aura puts out all that stuff that we have, and it's felt spiritually within the other person. So by acting, there's one saying that says, act, be the person you want to be, the change you want to happen. That's what it is. Be the change you want to happen. You know, and that's significant because we all want this, we all want that. But if we don't make that change, if we don't show that that's what we're working toward, if we don't show in our daily actions, then you're not portraying that to other people, and those other people aren't understanding it and they don't get it. So we have to show what we want it done, not just say it.
And thank you for reminding us of that. Yeah. What else did you want to share with us, Keith?
Well, that's really the biggest issue. That's the biggest message of the day is to carry this message that you have of the holiday season throughout your entire year, and find out where you want to be with yourself, um, with your spiritual self. Because see, everybody talks about wanting to get in touch with their higher self. And my question is, what is your higher self? Because everybody says, well, your spirit is your higher self. Well, no, that's not really true. Spirit is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no higher or lower. You're all integrated. Your
Mm-hmm.
body, soul, and mind is all one. Your body, spirit, and mind, however you want to put it. So there is no, what gets in the way is the ego. So if we get in touch with self, we're getting in touch with spirit, and we're moving ego out of the way. Ego is what wants us to have the best car in the world, and have our lawns as nice as the people next door to us, and have all these things that we want, and make all this money we want. Not to say that
Yeah.
that's not completely against what we need. It also means that that will come if we let our spirit tell us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of working for finding a higher self, just find yourself. Just find yourself and where you're being, what you should be guided to do. And I know I'm sort of repeating myself, but it's a very important message. And don't be lazy. Go out and
Mm-hmm.
do the research. Go out and do the studies. Go out and do the meditation. You're not going to get to be a guru or be an enlightened person or anywhere close to it by sitting on your laurels.
Yeah. Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is, it's just, I love this conversation. I love this uplifting, this upbringing. Can I just ask a personal question? We've been talking for a long time, but a little bit of your background. Was there a time where you felt not connected, not thriving, not whole? Like, how did your spirituality help you be the person you are, in a sense? Is kind of what I want to know.
Well, that could be an episode in itself, but very briefly,
Hmm.
um, I might have mentioned some of this before, but when I was about 7 years old, I was walking through a church and realized that I had a higher purpose in what this church was giving me.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it though.
Yep.
Didn't understand it at all. I'm 7 years old. And so I sort of went with the status quo for many, many years.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned in the last episode, I'm a recovering alcoholic. So I truly believe that one of the things that drew me, no, I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses here by any means, but one of the things that drew me to becoming an alcoholic, or I probably always have been an alcoholic, but to practice alcoholism, so to speak, was the fact that I didn't fit in. I
Oh,
didn't understand what was being taught to me. I didn't fit into the way things were. And I drank for 21 years. And
oh,
then when I got out of my drinking career, and I found out that I was allowed to have a higher power of my own understanding, and I didn't have to have the higher power that I grew up with. I didn't have to have the higher power that society dictated to me, or the neighbors dictated to me, or my parents dictated to me. I could find my own higher power and have my own. That put me on this trail, a new
mm-hmm.
trail. I had had many questions in growing up that were not answered, um, but that put me on this path,
Yep.
and it just exploded from there. I mean, I like anybody else started with the old because I didn't know any better.
Hmm.
When I got sober, I didn't know where to go other than to church. But it's an evolution. Spirituality is an evolution. You can't sit still.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you sit still, you're basically going backwards
Yeah.
because everything else is passing you by.
Ah.
So it's a constant evolution, and you, as in the person that's listening, has to determine through the guidance of their spiritual guides what is their path and what is their next step.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because everybody's is different, we wouldn't have a dishwasher or a president or a corporate officer or anything like that if we didn't have everybody wasn't didn't have different abilities. So the abilities are not what we're trying to condemn. What we're trying to condemn, or even not even condemn, we're just trying to say everybody has their own path.
Yep.
But let's have that path be guided.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. When I got sober, I started listening to some more guidance, and I started doing some things that brought me to where I'm at today. And as I may have mentioned in the past, I don't recall.
Mm-hmm.
My father was a religion professor,
Oh.
and he taught all religions, not just one religion. And when right before he died, um, he got rid of all his books.
Yeah.
Everybody in the family was allowed to go in and pick out the books they wanted, and all of his spiritual books and religious books were left behind. And I went down there, and I lived in Montana. Everybody else lived in Pennsylvania. And
Hmm.
I went down there, and I brought 31 boxes of books back to Montana.
Wow.
So I have almost all of his books that he studied from.
Wow.
And we were up right by you, Joe. We were
Ah.
at one point, we lived in New Haven, Connecticut, because
Yeah.
dad graduated from Yale with his PhD.
Amazing.
So that's not far from where you're in Long Island or New
Yes,
York
Long
City.
Island. Good job. Yep. Good
Yep,
memory. Yep.
yep. Well, I've been on Long Island in the semi
Ah, that's
when I drove
right. The old
semi.
trucking days out in Suffolk County, further out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I've been almost to the end of Long Island.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah, Montauk.
we lived just across the sound in a little town called Woodmont, Connecticut,
Oh my gosh. So that
which is
would
literally
be,
we were like a block and a half away from the sound.
so were you closer to the Bridgeport, New Haven? I'm trying to that, or is that Orient Point?
New Haven,
So New Haven is Orient
New
Point.
Haven.
Got it. Okay. Yep.
I don't remember. I was 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, 7 years old. We moved to Pennsylvania right before I turned 8. So I'm
Got
not really
it.
remembering a whole lot about it, but we moved from Woodmont, Connecticut to East Haven, Connecticut. And because we were up there for 4 years when dad was getting his PhD.
Oh.
So point is that he was a scholar, not necessarily a professor. And
Mhm.
so I was like, I'm very fortunate to have a lot of his books, as well as the books that I've added to that collection. I probably have 300 books, and I haven't read hardly any of them, maybe 50 of them.
Oh.
But it's not always for everybody. It's not always book reading that has to happen. I'm not saying that you have to read books to do your studies. Sometimes your studies are meditation and letting the right stuff come into you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's getting a few books out there to stimulate your thought pattern so you can bring that stuff in. There's a lot of different ways of doing this, and I just happen to be one that is too much in my brain instead of my heart. and I like to do a lot of reading. And I try to take that to my heart, which I very, very diligent at trying to do, but not always accomplishing. But it comes around eventually. So yeah, that's my story. Is a very, very brief synopsis of it, overview of it. But there's a lot more to it, really, as far as other experiences that I've had and so forth. Because I was a shepherd too. Before I was a truck driver, I was a shepherd. And I spent some time on the open range in Wyoming a couple different times. And that was very, very, what do you want to say? Very, very, well, it was fulfilling, but it was also very mystical to be out in the middle of nowhere by yourself, just seeing the stars and being with nature and so forth. Became very mystical and made you really think about things.
Oh. Ooh. All right. Well, on our note, we have 3 minutes left. How did you want to leave off? I mean, how do you sum things up for the holidays here? This is, got goosebumps.
Well, I think people need, as I've said earlier in the program, I would encourage people to look at their New Year's resolutions and make them in a holistic manner, not just in a physical manner, but make them in a holistic manner and follow through. Be as nice in July to people and as kind in July to people as you are at Christmas or at the holiday season, and try to become the change that you want to be.
Yeah.
Get in touch with your own spirit to follow the right path.
My goodness.
And anybody that wants any help and guidance in that, of course, they can reach out to goodsholistichealing.com. They can email me at info@goodsholistichealing.com. And they can call at 406-272-6006. And don't forget, I do give a 1-hour free consultation for you to determine whether this is the right fit for you. And if it isn't, we'll see if we can find someone who is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure having you here. Wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And wow, on your venture and this whole new non-for-profit, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Keith, for being here.
Well, we're hoping people come and visit us.
I hope so too. And hopefully we will be back again next week and we'll chat about it, okay?
January 2nd, I think we're back.
Beautiful. Sounds good. You have a fantastic day and we'll talk then, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.